if you're not walking around this town with a smile on your face as an expat, you probably ought to reconsider some of your life's decisions, because it's just a wonderful place.
Meet Bob and Paula. Originally from the US, they've been married for 45 years, retired, and now choose to spend the bulk of their time right here in Bangkok, Thailand. They're gonna share their experiences with Thailand's private healthcare system, why they feel that Bangkok is the greatest city in the world, and also why, as retirees, they choose the hustle and bustle of the big city over the quietness of the Thai countryside. This is Bob and Paula's Thailand Blueprint. I'm Adam, let's get into it. Where were you guys when you first decided that you were moving to Thailand?
That's a tough question, because I don't know that it was an all of a sudden thing. I mean, the first time we were in Thailand was over 30 years ago. And as we got older, we always kind of thought we'd be somewhere, in our later years, in the winter, that wasn't Florida. And as things got closer and it became more real, what we really wanted to do is have a base of operations here in Asia to do traveling from. And we had just spent so much time here in Bangkok. And the other city that we actually considered was Saigon. So we were in both right before COVID, kind of looking around. And we got pretty serious here. And all of a sudden, we got hit with COVID. So we left stuff in storage here, went back, and who knew it'd be 2 years before we could get back. But as soon as we got back, as soon as we had the opportunity to get back, we got on a horn, we lined up some real estate people. A lot of them, as you probably are aware, aren't that great of hustlers, but there was one guy that was, and he really got us, and understood our needs. And we, over the phone, we took care of all of the preliminaries. We got here on a Tuesday. I remember it was December 6th, 2021. On a Tuesday we flew in. We had to go through that quarantine for a night. And the next day we looked at a few few condos. And the next day we signed the lease on this place, Celeste. And 2 days later we moved in.
Why did you guys choose Bangkok over some of the more quiet parts of the country? You guys are retirees. A lot of retirees are looking for peace and quiet. We're in the center of the city right now.
We are anything but looking for peace and quiet. When they put you in the box, you got a lot of time for peace and quiet.
Yeah, we lived in New York City for years. That was where we worked and
played.
Worked and played, and we just love the vibrance of the city and the hustle and the bustle, and we just love it. And so Bangkok made sense for us. That was why it was between Bangkok and Saigon in the beginning.
And if you looked at both of them objectively, Saigon is it's a lot less than this, but it's still a pretty vibrant city. But Bangkok was just so much energy here, so much diversity here. It's easy, it's got great mass transit. The food scene here is fantastic. The music scene is fantastic. The expat scene and the Thai people. There's a reason they call us the land of smiles. And boy, if you don't pick up on that, your eyes aren't open here.
All of that's available in Saigon also. It was like not quite to the level that it is here. So
there was no mass transit.
That's true. They're still working on that, but I mean everything else they have in Saigon, but Bangkok just took it to the next level. So that was it, yeah.
What sort of visas are you guys each on, and then how'd you go about getting them?
We're on a non-immigrant O visa. And a couple of reasons. One is there's no healthcare requirement. We'll probably talk about healthcare and insurance, but there's no healthcare insurance requirement, which is a biggie. The other thing is it's about the only reasonable way to do it. I mean, the Thailand Elite visa just seems a little extortionary. I mean, it's almost like 20 grand for the two of us to have a visa.
It's a lot.
It just doesn't seem to make sense. So, we're on the non-immigrant O, and we use a visa agent. To go up to Chiang Wat Na on your own, people do it.
Scary.
People do it, but I just don't have that kind of patience.
Yeah. How'd you find the visa agent?
We actually found him at Chris's meetup.
Oh,
we found her at Chris's meetup.
Is this Kun Audi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep. I know Audi. Yeah.
So,
she's great.
Yeah, but before that, we were working with we were going down the path of an attorney here.
Yeah.
When we met Audi, we just decided to go with her, and she walked us through the whole thing. and we got the visa. Since then, for renewals, we're using Grace that Haley had recommended.
Haley recommended Grace. Yeah, she used her, and it was seamless.
And then in non-technical terms, non-immigrant O visa is just long form for retirement visa, correct?
Right. The non-immigrant O, you've got to be 50 or older.
Right.
You've got to have 800,000 baht in a Thai bank account. I think that was about it.
Yeah, it was pretty.
So there's a few different things at play right now. We've talked a bit about condos. We've touched about visas. I want to dig into each of those so I can really try to understand the process. So you're sitting in New York. You had 30 years of Thailand and Asian travel experience. You knew you wanted to get over here. You got hooked up with an awesome real estate agent. Mm-hmm. That real estate agent that you trusted connected you with this condo that we're here at now, right in the heart of the city. Mm-hmm. You transferred the money to pay the deposit on that condo via Wise, and then you were able to get a residency certificate once that rental closed. From there, you used that residency certificate to open up a Thai bank account, and then went ahead in country and applied for your retirement visas. Is that a fair assessment?
That's pretty good summation.
I remember off camera, we had a discussion about a year ago, how you were talking about buying a condo versus renting a condo in Bangkok. You actually ran the numbers and opted to rent on a multi-year lease. Can you kind of share that story? What did you find? Why did you guys opt to rent?
Well, if you look at the money you would have to take to buy a place, that's interest you're not going to earn, interest and dividends that you're not going to earn having that money invested. The amount of interest and dividends we earn on that money far exceeds the rent we're paying. So it just didn't make economic sense. I know it'd be more comfortable to own a place, but...
And it's not to say that we won't one day.
The thing that you don't get is you don't get the option to renovate. And this is a new building. It's all furnished. It's pretty nice. But if we didn't have a house back home, I would probably want to do something a little more custom. And in that case, I would probably make the poor financial but good personal decision to buy an older building, a quality older building in a good location, and just gut renovate it and make it ours.
Right.
And that is still a possibility on the table.
Yeah. But when we were back there and COVID hit and we ended up back in New York for two years that we didn't expect to be there, we were doing a renovation and we did a gut renovation on our home back there, and we kind of built it from the ground up for two people, for us. And it's just, it's so comfortable for us. So,
It'd be hard to walk away from.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, we spend most of our time there when we're back in the States because it's kind of crowded where we live, and we don't go out much, and there's really no reason to. But we cook, we have interests, and we built the house around it. So, yeah.
Where in the U.S. is your guys' house?
East Hampton, New York.
So you guys maintain that place in New York, even though you spend most of the year in Bangkok?
Right. We're here pretty much 9 months, and we go back there for rainy season here and summer out in the Hamptons. And, like I said, we did the renovation during COVID, and, not knowing that we were going to move here and spend, at first we thought we'd spend, 5-6 months here and 5-6 months back there, but enough with the cold. We're done with that. So, 9 months here, 3 months there, and built the house, and it's just so comfortable for us. It's really hard to give it up.
Why the 9 and 3 setup? Why not a 6 and 6 or an all or nothing?
The better question would be, why not a 12 and 0? We love it here.
Yeah.
This is, and I think as everybody, all the expats we meet, we all understand this is a good life over here.
It's a pretty good setup.
Yeah.
You get a bit of the best of both worlds. Yeah. I must admit, though, I could totally see you guys spending all months of the year here.
Oh, absolutely.
If we hadn't have done the renovation.
No question.
Did you have furniture, electronics, things like this that you had to ship in from the US when you first moved to Bangkok?
No, when we were here before COVID, we knew we were coming back. We expected to be back in a few months, not 2 years. But we left some clothing here in storage, some of the motorcycle stuff here in storage. Right. When we came, we just had, excess luggage, and we bought, some more clothes over. But pretty much everything else we bought here.
But the apartment came furnished, and we had them. Like, there was no TV in the bedroom, so the owner got us a TV for the bedroom. There was a tiny bed in the second bedroom, which is really small, that we use for Bob to edit now. And we had him take the bed out.
Yeah, what we did is what we did is we had the owner take the bed out. We went over to IKEA. We bought a desk and a desk chair, and that is our office.
Right.
You had mentioned a motorbike. Do you rent one here? You bought a motorbike?
Actually bought two. I ride, I've been riding forever. I have a BMW adventure bike back in New York, and I had ridden around Thailand a lot on rental bikes. I had a connection up in Chiang Mai. I used to rent a BMW up there, and I've been, all over the north. And in anticipation of coming here, we bought a bike from New York on the telephone. So we bought a BMW adventure bike. When we got here, everything was all ready. We just had to pay. And that's a very big bike, not the best for Bangkok. Bangkok's pretty crowded. It's a lot of weaving between the cars and filtering between the cars. So the only thing that made sense, rather than be stuck in taxis every day, was to get a little scooter. So we went out and bought a Yamaha NMAX, and it turned out to be one of the best investments we've ever made. Yeah, this is not a place for somebody to learn how to ride. This is a tough place. It's dangerous. But as a seasoned rider, it was, for us, it's fine. And what it allows us, the freedom it allows us. Some of our best days in Bangkok are the days we get on a bike, take Google Maps, and just go explore. Yeah. I mean, we get the places so far off the beaten path. Right. It's just...
We can't even find them again sometimes. But
what was the buying process on the Yamaha like? How'd you do that?
Well, first it was to decide what kind of bike to buy. And you see most people here have got Hondas. As I did a lot of research, some with the guys from BMW, and then when I had rented scooters, I always asked, the guys, because they have to buy and maintain these things, as, what do they consider the best for an automatic? Wanted an automatic. And the Yamaha NMAX floated to the top of the list. Yeah. So went over to Yamaha, and it was pretty straightforward. Yeah. I'd already bought the big bike, so I already had, I already kind of knew the ropes. Yeah. And, just signed some paperwork, and, a couple of days later, walked out with the bike.
Any good road trips you recommend in Thailand?
On the big bike? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it depends. If you're a seasoned rider and comfortable, if I were to suggest one, if you only had one to take, I would do it out of Chiang Mai. I would go to a place called Pop Motorcycle and rent a bike. And you can rent from, small scooters, mid-range scooters to, full-on large motorcycles, and do the Mae Hong Song Loop. Yeah. It's pretty tame. And it's a well-known, well-worn path, but you'll be riding in some of the best roads you've ever seen in your life. It's just awesome.
Tame, but a little scary on the back sometimes.
You ride on the back?
Oh yeah, because those are twisty roads. I'm on the back. Yeah, wow. I got the camera. I'm on the back. It's.
But that's the Mae Hong Song Loop. That's the headline ride in Thailand. There are so many other. As you head north into the mountains, there are so many beautiful roads and great villages, and everywhere the temples here, the Wats, they're throughout the countryside. Right. It's truly a wonderful place to ride.
Yeah, we have a trip planned either tomorrow or the next day. We're going to head up towards Nan, and spend a week or two up there. It's nice. We don't have a schedule. We don't have to be back for anything, so we'll go until doesn't make sense anymore, and then we'll turn around and come back.
What do you guys like to do in Bangkok? What are your go-to activities? Do you like good tunes, live music? Are you foodies?
All of the above.
Yes, and yes.
All of the above. Our probably largest out-of-pocket expense is food. We go out every night. We generally do Thai food during the day for lunch. But in the evenings, we're out mostly international. I mean, you can get most any kind of food here. This is a major foodie city, one of the best in the world, and not just the Thai food. So we've got our places around town. And
we have a handful of like every international dish you could, any kind of food you want. And we have like a restaurant, we go for steak, Italian, Greek, Chinese, crab, everything. So yeah, we have a lot of restaurants that we go, and we frequent them when we're here, and the people are so welcoming and they're so happy to see us. They always fit us in, when we call. They'll always find a table for us, and they're like family. You get to know them and they become like family.
The other thing we do quite a bit, probably 3 or 4 nights a week, is we love live music. And it's surprising the caliber of music talent there is here in Thailand.
Yeah, they're amazing.
We generally go for either blues or jazz or some of the oldies, standards kind of music. There's a few places we go. A place called Buddha and Pals. There's a place called the Golden Giraffe. Used to be, for those of you that know, the old Apotheca down inside on Soy 11. We go to Fujan's for jazz. The
Crimson
Green Room. Crimson Room for jazz.
Green Room, yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity for live music.
Right. And then we live right near Soy Cowboy, and there's a place called Country Road in there, and they have great live bands every night. So on the way home from dinner, we'll stop there, grab a drink and listen to some music for an hour or whatever, and we know all the people in there also. So it's a lot of fun.
So you guys like all types of restaurants in Bangkok, the back alley, hole in the walls, but then also the high-end stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
The back alley, hole in the walls, those are my favorite. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, nothing like a little 50 baht lunch, something
Right?
like that. I love it. But I will say at the same time, there's also nothing like a good El Gaucho steak,
Oh, that's become that's our steak place.
The one thing here in Bangkok, in Thailand, is you can live at many different price points.
Yeah.
And we live at a fairly advanced price point, but it would be just as easy to live at a more modest price point and still have a rewarding and fun existence here.
Right.
It's different than in the West.
Right.
At the lower end, you'd have a tough time in America.
Right.
Whereas here, you could still have a really fulfilling, nice life.
Yeah. I'm going to one of these back alley restaurants. We walk out of there as satisfied, if not more, than going to the expensive, international restaurants. So
it's not a matter of money.
Yeah.
What is your guys' cost of living over here?
That's a tough one because everything is so commingled. But I'm guessing our rent with utilities is about, in U.S. dollars, is about $3,000 a month. We're probably $10,000-12,000 a month. Could get a little higher, on months with high medical bills or months with expensive travel.
Right.
We're probably $10,000-12,000 a month here.
So you guys are definitely spending a lot of money as expats in Thailand then.
There are people that spend more, there are people that spend less. I mean, the one thing, kind of my philosophy on retirement is you work your whole life and you create a certain lifestyle for yourself. The goal for a good retirement, in my view, is if you can retire and maintain that lifestyle for the rest of your life, that's the time to retire.
Yeah.
And whatever that lifestyle is, it's not that you're gonna, if you didn't fly first class before you retired, you're not gonna fly first class after you're retired. If you flew first class before you retired, you're gonna miss it if you're not doing it after you retire. So, it's a pretty simple formula that I would encourage anybody to live by that rule, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
What did you guys do for work back in the US pre-retirement?
Most of my career was on Wall Street. I started back on Wall Street in the 80s. And, I was one of 5 women on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. And it was fun. It was a real good time. It was, I met a lot of people. I met a lot of influential people. And then, I guess about, I used to work actually in the World Trade Center. And when 9/11 happened, I had left 2 years before and moved full-time out to our house because we had bought the house a couple of years before that. But I worked with people, every day that, didn't make it through that. So that was a real tough time for me. And then I moved out to the Hamptons and I started working for the Hamptons International Film Festival. I started my own event company and I would do fundraising out there and charitable events. And then I did medical billing, which I'll talk about when we get to, the healthcare. But yeah, that was pretty much my life.
For me, I was always in the big, just at the edges of the big corporate world in New York. I was, for the big accounting firms, I did accounting, I did management consulting, and then I was also pretty technical, so I got into technology sales, software and then cloud computing before I retired.
And I know the two of you are frequenters of Bangkok's international hospitals. Can you guys talk about what the private healthcare looks like here?
Well, it started from the day, a couple of days after we moved here, we got this beautiful new apartment. I just bought this beautiful new bike. We're all excited. We're going to go take off on a big motorcycle trip up north. And I proceed to stub my toe in the apartment, did a real serious break on my toe. 5 weeks before I could put on a shoe. So that was our first experience at Bumrungrad. Since then, on one of the trips, I dropped the bike. Paula came off on her wrist. She did a pretty serious break on her wrist. So it was this was not just a break because there was some cartilage damage and she ended up with pins and she had a pretty serious operation here.
We were actually on our way to Samui at the time on the motorcycle. That's a whole story in itself. Wanting to catch a ferry.
And what are some of the other major ones?
Your back.
I had a back procedure. I had a radio frequency procedure on my back here.
Knee surgery.
I had tore my meniscus last year, and I had meniscus, reconstructive surgery on my knee. Just a few months ago, I had sinus surgery. So we've got pretty good experience here at Bumrungrad. What I will say is the doctors here are comparable with the top doctors in New York. I mean, we've dealt with them enough to understand these guys are trained just as well. The equipment is just as good.
And a lot of them are actually educated back in the States. So yeah.
So the standard of care available is very high. The cost is pretty reasonable, especially compared to the States. Like the surgeries, the sinus surgery, meniscus surgery, the wrist surgery, those are about $10,000 procedures here. Whereas in the States, it would be tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, many tens of thousands.
Yeah. So there's that. The other, on the dental side, very similar. I've had implants, I've had crowns, I've had extractions.
And I've been lucky to have cosmetic veneers, so I get the good stuff. And
again, the standard of care is comparable to the best we get in New York.
If not better.
The one comment I would have, and it's pretty noticeable, is both dentistry and medical here is the doctors practice medicine and they don't look over their shoulders at what's the insurance implications of their decisions. And that comes through subliminally, but it is definitely noticeable that they're practicing medicine and doing the right thing with only consideration for the medical outcomes, not what the finances are for the insurance company.
The doctors have a good bedside manner here, compared to what they have back in the States. But, I used to do medical billing, and we have Medicare and a supplemental back in the States. Medicare doesn't work internationally. They don't do anything. But our supplemental insurance does cover you for the first 60 days out of the country. And what I learned, it's not a matter of having all the work completed in the first 60 days. You just have to have it documented within the first 60 days. So like with his knee, we took him to a hospital on one of our trips up, where was it, Utaitani, I believe. We took you to a clinic up there, and he had an MRI, and they said it was broken. So I had the documentation, and that was within the first 60 days. The surgery didn't happen until 5 months later. It was all covered.
Through,
through our supplemental insurance back from the States.
and is that a government thing in the US?
The Medicare's the government part,
Right.
the supplemental you buy
You
to
pay,
kind of cover
right,
the gaps.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So Medicare back in the States pays 80% and the supplemental picks up the other 20. What happens when you're overseas is for the first 60 days, the supplemental will cover 80% and then we pick up the 20. But with the exchange rate, with the baht to the US dollar, we ended up getting the whole thing back. So it was kind of like, but a lot of people don't know how it works. So it's you got to look between the cracks to find it, which I was able to do.
And is that a theme for all of the procedures you guys have had? Like the vast majority of the work that's been done over here has been covered by your supplemental insurance?
Pretty
I would
much,
say,
but pretty much we've been very lucky
Yeah.
because we are self-insured here.
Yeah.
Medical insurance is a little tough here in Thailand. First of all, you have to buy an annual, and we're not here all year, but that's neither here nor there. But the other thing is there's pretty heavy exclusions on pre-existing conditions. By the time you get to more advanced years, damn near everything's a pre-existing condition. And the other thing is it's pretty discriminatory in terms of age. The costs go up pretty
Yeah.
severely
The older
as you get older, and then there's points where you just can't buy insurance at certain
Right.
ages. So you're limited to what you can buy. And then if you buy, you're limited as to what they're going to cover. And that just didn't make sense. So we're self-insured.
Right.
I mean, the thought is if we ever have a catastrophic event, we'd fly back to the States and have it handled.
Yeah.
Now, I just had COVID recently, and the thought did occur to me that if I ended up needing intensive care, that could have gotten expensive.
Right.
And, the bet would have been against me.
Right.
But
We've been pretty lucky.
So when you have an operation here that costs $10,000 in Bangkok, but in America maybe it's 50 grand.
Yeah.
it's about like
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Who pays for it though? That's
We
We
pay.
pay
We
up
pay.
front.
you just pay for it up front, but then you get a certain percentage of that rebated back to you.
We pay it up front. I make sure I have all the medical records and all the paperwork that I need. I fill out all the forms. I send it into our supplemental. And then, within a couple of weeks, we have a check back for 80%. But like I said, with the exchange rate, we usually end up getting back about 100%.
But
So,
But if we had, and now we're far past the 60 days, if something came up
Right.
now, there's no
Yeah, there's
reimbursement.
nothing.
It's 10 grand.
yeah.
I
Right.
understand. Okay, that was
Yeah, but what we do, at least to hedge our bets, is like when we go on a motorcycle trip, is I'll take out travel insurance,
yeah.
and I've used for decades now World Nomads, and I'll take out travel insurance for that period, because if you come off the bike, that could get...
And actually, they paid 100% of my wrist surgery. And the World Nomads did.
Oh, that's right.
Bike, yeah. Yeah.
it's worldnomads.com. People could find
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like Safety Wings. They were around before them, and it's more of a travel. It doesn't have that like digital nomad, piece to it.
Yeah.
But we buy the travel insurance. So we're going to Non, this week. I'll buy for both of us, World Nomads
For
travel
2
insurance,
weeks or whatever,
and it
yeah.
covers medical, and it also covers emergency evacuation.
Catastrophic, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just think that's
But
prudent
that
to
was
do.
probably the easiest because what you had to do was when it first happened, we just had to call and get it documented with them on the phone. And then, just send them in the bills and, they paid really quick. Yeah.
So overall, though, you're impressed with private healthcare here in Thailand.
Very much
Very.
so.
And you guys are well qualified to have that opinion. I actually met you the other day at the Bangkok International Dental Hospital.
Yeah.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
And that facility was great, man. They
Those
knew
guys.
you in there. You're like the king of Kensington, both of you. Anytime I ever hang out with you guys, you're like saying hello to everybody.
Well, it's we just love our life here. We walk around with a smile, and a smile goes a long way.
Yeah.
Especially with the Thai people, because they are so nice.
Yeah.
And it's just so much fun to interact with them. They've got great sense of humor, and it's just wherever we go. And if you're not walking around this town with a smile on your face
Yeah.
as an expat, you probably ought to reconsider some of your life's decisions
Right,
because
right, yeah.
it's just a wonderful place.
Yeah.
How have you guys made friends here since being in Bangkok? Any advice for people that have just moved to this city that are looking to meet other cool expats?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing is, the one thing you've got to realize is virtually any other expat you meet here, by definition, is somebody, a like-minded individual. I mean, we all come here, for a reason. And so there's that at the base. But like anywhere else, it's pursue your interests and you'll meet people that have the same interests. For instance, the motorcycle. I met a bunch of friends now, because I ride, a motorcycle, and I got involved with, some of the folks, through the shop that I bought it from. We go out like every night for live music.
Right.
We met a ton of people that have that same, passion.
He'll go by himself for a couple of days on the motorcycle trip, some off-roading, which I don't really care to do with him. And, I'll do what girls do, we'll go and pamper ourselves for 3 or 4 days up in the mountains or, at a resort somewhere.
And what's nice is we've got a lot of friends that are expats. We've also got a lot of Thai local friends.
Yeah.
And that's a nice balance.
Yeah.
To hang out with just the expat community,
Right.
I think it's a little limiting.
Right.
You can stay home and hang out with a bunch of people like that.
Yeah.
But not that it's not good, but it's nice to also have some local friends.
Right.
You just, the experience is much richer, the cultural exchange.
What do you guys figure your next 5-10 years look like? Are you here for a while, or are you going to go back to the U.S., do you figure?
I mean, all my only goal is pretty simple, just to age gracefully, because the alternative sucks. We don't really have a set plan. We still have the home, the house back in the States. So there is always that option should we need to use that option. But we're going to kind of take it as it comes. And, depending on how things go, primarily how the health holds out, we'll make the right choice for us at that time. But until then, I don't see much of a change.
Yeah,
it's pretty sweet.
It's interesting. I mean, we love it here. We don't have much family back in America. We don't have parents back there any longer. The only
No
relative
kids.
we have no children. The only relative we have is my sister and her husband and their 2 kids and her grandchild. And, it's interesting because I have a 30-year-old niece who came over here a year ago, and, she flew here with some friends. They were in business school, and she came and spent a couple of days with us in Bangkok, and then we took her to Saigon. And we spent like 5 days with her, and that's probably more time than I've spent with Jackie than in her 30 years, on this earth in America. So, my sister and her husband travel. They've been, all over the world, and, they're going to plan a trip here hopefully this coming year. And, so it's like not that we have family that we have to rush back to or kids that we have to take care of. So, we're just going to kind of go with it day by day and walk around with a smile on our face, and hopefully this is going to be, a good way to, fill in this chapter.
I don't mean to bring the spirits down, but is there anything you dislike about Thailand?
The hassles that we go through for things like, buying bikes, doing the immigration stuff. But I comfort myself in the thought that however difficult it is for us here as expats, if I think about some of my Thai friends coming to America and trying to do what we're doing, it would be infinitely more difficult for them. So you got to kind of look at it, and take it all with a grain of salt and just keep smiling your way and working your way through it. You'll get through it.
How about you, Paula?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I mean, the air, the burning season, the air and the heat and the humidity and, but then when I think about the snow back in America, it's like, I don't mind the heat and humidity here. We go out on the motorcycle, we come back drenched, just take the clothes off, throw it in the washing machine and do a load of laundry. And, it's, I mean, I thought the heat might bother me, but not so much, and I wear a hat, so it doesn't really matter.
So how many showers a day do you take?
I'm a 2 a day kind of guy.
Sometimes I'm 4, you know. 'Cause
That's if you're not doing much that day.
Because I'm like always running around. I'm always running somewhere, you know. He's editing, I'm going out to get lunch, I'm going to get my manicure, you know, whatever I do. But yeah.
So do you guys have any parting words of wisdom for somebody that's similar to you? Maybe they're sitting back home in America, they're sitting in Canada, they're sitting in Europe. They're looking for a unique retirement. They've done well for themselves. Any words of advice?
Well, the first thing I would say is do your homework. I mean, broadly speaking, the options over here are the mountains up north, places like Chiang Mai. You can go more rural, but you know, let's consider the northern mountains. The next would be Bangkok, and this is a great city, but it's not for everybody. And the other option are down south in the islands. So what I would suggest is come over here, spend some time, spend at least a week, more if you can, in each of those 3 areas and get an idea of, you know, where you see yourself fitting, and to spend some decent amount of time, because you don't want to just live out of the suitcase, come here, live out of the suitcase and go home. You want to maybe, you know, have to interact with some of the services and try to, some of everyday's life challenges. If you experience that, just so you have a good idea, is this really for you? Because I suspect most people don't have the wherewithal once they're retired to make big life mistakes. And you don't want this to be a big life mistake.
One of the other things is there's also it's very inexpensive to travel within Thailand, but also within the neighboring countries in Southeast Asia. And you know, that was a big decision on why we actually chose Bangkok, because it's so accessible to other parts of, you know, the world that we want to travel. And
yeah, I mean, one of the other pieces of advice I would have, and I think I mentioned it before, is once you're able to stop working and maintain your lifestyle, that's the time to stop working. You know, I never heard of anybody at the end of the game say, I wish I spent more time in the office. You know, once you're done, once you're able to maintain your lifestyle, that's the time to consider. And boy, if you're having struggles in the West, be it the economics or the politics or just plain tired of the same lifestyle for, you know, 50, 60 years, this is a great option.
Yeah.
And I couldn't encourage you to seize the moment and make that last chapter in life the most fulfilling it can possibly be.
Guys, it's been awesome getting to know you over the past couple of years. Thank you for coming on and sharing your Thailand blueprint. I really appreciate it. Some very, very good advice here from an inspirational duo. So thanks again. Cheers, guys.
thank you.
Thank you.